I've now. Oops, I need to go back to heads only.
It's been a while since I've heard myself.
Okay. All right. Current viewers. I think we're live. This thing won't mirror my head though. All right, so pop up chat. I got my notes. I've got
Oh yeah, I
pictures
gotta
on
mute
another
myself.
screen. Ready.
Ready, steady, go. What's that from?
Ready, steady, go. Ready, steady, go. It's a song. It's,
I believe that oh, I probably know the Paul Oakenfold
I know
one,
like
not
some other
the.
random older version.
Yeah, there's also L'Arc en Ciel in a British television program.
Yeah. Hi
VTuber number 4.
everyone. Welcome to Friday Night with Paul and Meg Anime.
Hello, welcome.
This VTuber is really hard to emote. It's actually using face rig again. And even though I keep calibrating it, it decides that I just have resting bitch face. So that's a thing. So I look angry a lot of the time, but I'm not.
It's a lie. Sorry. I just have to stir up trouble. Yeah, so My Hero Academia, episodes 4 through 7.
Yeah.
A lot happened. I'm glad that we did this instead of trying to skip ahead.
Really?
Because there's definitely parts that I forgot. I mean, we can talk more about more episodes and all that other stuff, but like, I mean, I don't know. I enjoyed these episodes, so there's that. But should we give background first, I guess? So last week we watched the first 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Rough recap. We have our main character Deku, who has no powers, and through fortunate circumstances managed to acquire a power. And basically, episode 4 starts with him at the school exam to join. God, why am I blanking on the school's name?
UA.
Yeah, UA. What does UA stand for?
I'm gonna totally make it up, so you should look it up.
UA High.
Ultra Academy. I don't know. Should be
The
Ultra.
weird thing is, like, it doesn't say.
Maybe it's just always been UA.
Jeez, why is it called UA High School?
What are you finding?
Okay. I mean, I'll read it later. I don't really understand, but it's apparently some Japanese language translation thing going on. Anyway,
Got it.
yeah, it's just UA. It doesn't actually stand for anything, which actually makes sense, kind of. Like, why would it be an English acronym? Whatever. Anyway, starts with the entrance ceremony to UA High School. He doesn't know how to use his power yet. That's the first episode.
Yep.
Oh yeah, how are we doing the format for this? Do you want to go episode by episode, or do you want to do overall thoughts first, or what?
We could do some overall thoughts. I mean, before the show, I said to you, like, and I think this will be pretty typical, like, it's not like I was introduced to any new formats really to sink my teeth into, so it was really just taking in the plot more than anything. There's some cute things that they did, but I think that the show's really clever and cute. I think that, and we can talk about this in each of the episodes, I took notes on this, of just it there's a really fine line when it comes to covering what are effectively cliche plots and story and still doing it in a way that feels like you're experiencing that story in a new way. So the cliche being here that he's the underdog, he's the imposter, we've seen superheroes. Like, none of that stuff is new. It's not even new for a bunch of kids with superpowers to be at a school. And then it sounds like there's other school animes where I'm sure there's some friendly kid rivals and such. But it to me still felt fresh and cute. But I don't know if that's also because I haven't watched a lot of other anime. But I think that that's always a hard line to dance, and I think they're doing it well.
I generally agree with those statements. The one that I'm having trouble, though, is specifically a hero setting where one kid doesn't have a power and then gets one.
I mean, I think it's a story.
Because most hero movies, like, generally someone, like, has a power, or, like, they, you know, it's their origin story where they quickly get a power.
Yes.
It's very, very, like, everyone has powers except you.
Yeah, but I think that
Deal
was
with it.
established pretty quickly that he was going to get a power.
Yeah. Was it? I think it was like most of the first 2 episodes before it was like, yeah, you can get a power.
Yeah, that's
But
intro.
I guess my point is they're going to play into the fact that, like, he's growing into this power late, like he's a late bloomer. Like, that remains a theme for a while, or at least it seems to.
Yeah, and I think that's cool. Like, I think they do it well, though, right? Like, and it just doubles as you're at that age and you're learning about yourself and you're learning about what's possible regardless in the world. Also, Trevor offers the movie Sky High, and Sean also offers that Google says UA is basically a Japanese pun on high school and kind of hero with the symbol swapped. Sounds like IU.
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning, but I didn't know how to explain it in a brief. What is Sky High? Is this going to be like a Disney thing?
Yeah, it's some trash. Maybe. I don't know.
Oh. It's a comedy film. It's not. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not saying it's never been done. Like, I can also think of sort of Unordinary tries to play around with that for a long time, and I have my feelings about Unordinary for people who read that. But I think many people do, but it's neither here nor there. Anyway, yeah. I mean, yeah. So the reason why I picked this shonen in particular, other than it's new, because they're technically newer shonen that have become anime, because there always are. But I picked it both because it's popular, but also because I think it is good, and does good storytelling with the common tropes there, despite a lot of other shonen that I'm just like, okay, like I don't need to like I know it's gonna happen before it happens, etc., etc. And this one, like, yeah, sure, you can be like, oh, I bet he gets a power just based on like the box art of the season or whatever, but it at least feels like interesting and compelling to watch, right?
Yeah.
There's a few moments you're like, okay, that's creative, or like, oh, it's a neat way to go with it, or like, oh, that explores an interesting idea, etc., etc. No, it has enough nuance and complexity that I'm like, yeah, I like this.
Yeah, I think there's some really just smart things. So, so going back to episode 4, this called Start Line, you know, going into it, like, they foreshadow it with like, there's one monster you should all avoid. And of course, like, that's what he stands up to, but I thought it was really good at, I wrote down 0P, also OP monster, was definitely great at bringing out what was in his heart. His heart is what got him here, and that's what helped him shine in the test. And actually do have a good image. I can switch to our images real quick. I didn't take as much, again, because I was not like doing any like super heavy critique here. It's funny because these totally look like oh god, what are they called in Overwatch? The one level where like you're fighting the Omnimax? Yes. Did you never fight them?
That wasn't in the base game, right? You're talking about some of the like PvE
Yeah.
content they
Yeah, yeah,
added
yeah.
later in the game. And like I'm almost certain that this happened first.
Yeah, probably did, but it's like the
I
dot
want to say.
specifically face here, like for face here, is very
Yeah, but also
similar.
like I'm sure there's other shows, media, etc. that have done this idea kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah, yeah, for
But yeah, it looks
sure.
cool
So
for
that big
sure.
boy rolls in, which is funny. I forgot it was 0 points, so I was in my head calling it OP. um, and then, this how people act after they've seen the shows their true nature. And I love also this other student who we get to find out his ability a little bit later. We get glimpses of everyone, but he's just kind of hilarious. Where we find out he comes from a private school and he just like overthinks everything and adds in just like a level of, oh well, I bet this is like the clear explanation for it. And wow, and oh my gosh, and la la la. And so in a way, he's like, I don't know. I just find it funny because I know these people. Um, he also reminds
You mean
me
people like this or these people?
people who he like genuinely gives Deku more credit than he probably deserves, but from like a wholesome place
Yes.
of overthinking it. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. I'm like, how do you describe his behavior? Because it's hard. Um,
Um, it's like someone who's
'Cause, like
competitive.
it's sort of being overly proper, formal, sort of maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say someone who's competitive and wants to do their best, but doesn't want to do it. He's not mean spirited about it. It's just like he expects
Oh
the
yeah, he's
best from
genuine.
himself.
Right.
And but looks at others as a way to make sure, like, to pace himself and measure himself, but again, not in the way that the other dude did. The other dude's got some I literally wrote down, I'm like, what did I write, where is it? Boku is not right in the head, or
You mean Bakugo?
Bakugou. Bakugou.
Bakugo. Uh,
Bakugou. Oh,
I'm very excited to talk about Bakugo.
oh my
Uh,
god. All right, well, let's talk about the
what?
wholesome stuff first.
Sure. So episode 4, as we discuss, it's a trial to use their powers to defeat enemies. There's 3 different types of robots. They're worth different points. Uh, you explained how he heroically saved Uraraka. Am I getting that name right?
I'm not the person to ask. Yeah, no, so I took a screenshot of that too, right? Like they reveal that there was another trait in which they rate people, and I think it was
Yeah.
rescue points. And so I have a
Yeah.
screenshot of when it's like I didn't realize his legs had also broken in him doing the smash. Um,
Yeah. Well,
but
it wasn't from him doing the smash. It was from him jumping.
okay,
I
yeah.
realized that might not have been perfectly clear. That he jumped and in the process broke both his legs, and then went to punch this giant robot and broke his right arm.
Yeah, I was like, poor kid. I was like, he's just falling to his death. But the spirit of
Yeah.
self-sacrifice. And then, so he goes through, he feels like he totally like messed up, but he saved the nice person that he kept referring to her as. Um, and then the rest of it is just like him being like, oh my gosh, should I get in? Did I get in? I don't know. And just like all the ways, like, you measure yourself and like, man, I messed up all these ways and I'm just going to overthink about it. And I am big O failure. And then, of course, you know that he's going to get in, and probably because of that move. But it was still, again, like it delivers what you know is going to happen in a delightful way. And his mom's adorable.
Yeah, his mom is great, and we should talk about that more. Have to have bones to be a hero. Yeah, it helps. Yeah, no, I it's just good stuff. the because we were talking about who characters would be from Star Wars, and we shouldn't actually get into that. But I liked how All Might was used for like comic relief and how he delivered that he got
Yeah.
in the recording. Like I like how they do the pacing and like have breaks in between the serious moments, and like everything's just real good.
Yeah, when they're on the beach and he's like, All Might. And he's like, no, no, shut up. And the people on the dock are like, what? And then he does transform. I also love that he just spews blood when he's in like skinny All Might form. It's
Yeah.
just like, hello, let me spray your face with blood.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a classic animeism kind of
In
like
what
blood from the mouth
sense?
when you get hurt is like a common signifying thing, right? And I think that's in other media too. I think it just comes up a lot in anime, or like people like samurai exchanging like swords or like whatever, or like getting punched and like you start bleeding from the mouth as like a way of signifying damage.
Got it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So,
Although, yeah, he's doing it in like a comedic way where he's like kind of spewing it,
like aggressively spewing
aggressively
it.
vomiting blood. Yeah.
Um, okay, so then that's all I really did for that first episode. Because you kind of knew what was going to happen again, but it was done well. And then episode 5, actually really liked a lot, called What I Can Do for Now. And so, first it's like his first day of school. His mom's like, oh my God, do you have all the things? He's running late. And then the kids kind of do a showdown in as they're waiting for the teacher to appear. And I just want to say, when this teacher first appeared, I really liked him. I don't necessarily like him as much anymore, but his first appearance, I was like, yeah, this guy's rolling up in a sleeping bag. He's just super weird. I like this shit.
Why do you like him less now?
um, he feels jaded and he needs a sabbatical.
I think you mean he feels jaded, and that's great.
He just like he's like, yes, I aggressively want to fail people, or not. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but uh he does the test, right? But like the whole episode is building up kind of in the cutaways to this teacher is definitely quirky, no pun intended to the quirks, but like he takes advantage of the school's policy to do what he like teach how he wants to teach. And he sets up this whole exam that they're like, all right, let's go. Let's see what your abilities are. First day of class. But whoever comes in last, you're going to fail. And then you've got All Might, who's like looking into him. And he's like, oh boy, my best boy is going to have a hard time with him. And then there's kind of a little teacher standoff at the end of the episode. So I just feel like it's building to like All Might versus Eraserhead. What other pictures did I take?
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, this guy.
Can you elaborate on why you think there's gonna be a face-off? Or like what you mean by face-off, maybe?
Oops, wrong one. I think. I mean, like, All Might's reactions internally were kind of like, I don't like this guy. And then I talked to this guy about his teaching technique. And he calls me out on protecting Deku. And that he shouldn't be doing it. So, it just feels like it's grounds for some sort of seed to be planted that All Might be called out at some point for giving his ability to Deku and being like super on the DL about it and not copping to their relationship. Or that there's going to be a point in time where Eraserhead's like, look, Deku can't control his stuff. He's not coming along fast enough. He's clearly behind other kids because he didn't get his quirk by the time he was age 4. He can't control it. Everyone has to help him. He should be expelled. And All Might is going to have to be like, no, he's my best boy.
Interesting.
I like, I don't know if it would go there, but to me, like, having that as a confrontation just feels like there could be a seed that was planted.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because I'm trying to think if this counts as being spoilery, and I don't sort of think it does. The because what's happening actually is it's just character development. So, yeah, like Eraserhead comes off as super serious, like I'm gonna expel these kids, and like I'm very cynical and a pessimist. But like, eventually, it's going to explain why he is the way that he is, right? So, it's really just building characters, and their disagreement is less of like because it's planting a seed of future confrontation and more of like, let us demonstrate the contrast, right? Where like All Might is like, yeah, you're heroes and it's a serious job, but you have to like smile and laugh your way through it. Where like Eraserhead's going to be like, it's a serious job and people die. And it's two very like important perspectives on the same concept.
Yeah, I mean, All Might definitely shows some poor judgment when Deku and Bakugou, right? Bakugou. I can't speak English.
I think you mean Japanese, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, I mean any language. That was a lot of questionable judgment on All Might's part.
What do you mean?
A lot of bias. Well, let's get there. Let's go through the other stuff first. So, I just thought it felt very clever to set up this teacher for. He seems like a real he's a weirdo and hard ass in a way. It also has helped really showing Deku's like, oh my god, I'm an imposter, I don't know what to do, I can't control this stuff, I'm gonna fail out, what am I gonna do, all the other, and then also, concurrently, parallel, you get to see all the kids and all their abilities and what they can do, and so, and then just like Eraserhead, like I wrote, also continues to really play around with imposter syndrome, which he is, but again, his heart will win out. Eraserhead cutting down his heart though. What other pictures did I take from this one? I don't think I had as many. Let me check photos. Oh yeah, just I like this guy. He also reminds me of the vegan character in Scott Pilgrim. Took me a second. Just the look.
Referring to, but what? Oh,
simply the look.
But he doesn't have glasses even.
It's still something I think about the hair and the jawline.
Okay.
I meant to find a picture. I'm
pretty sure the vegan's the blonde.
Vegan Scott
Pilgrim. Yeah, vegan.
Images.
Yeah, he's blonde. He's just a jock. They don't look very...
I don't know why. There's something about it that just reminded me. Don't remember, but anyhow, I guess we'll move on. Yeah, so I'd also...
I don't agree with that at all, but okay, sure.
So then, I'd also captured this too of, and I think this was just, again, getting at my comments of just, like, poor Deku's already like, oh my god, I barely belong here. I want to be here. I want to do my best. I can't because of circumstances and just eating that hair from All Might. And I got this teacher up my butt being like, look, you're just going to cause problems for everyone else. And I think that that's, again, also another relatable thing of having a teacher or boss like you don't get along with. And it seems like they're on your shit. I certainly had a teacher who was like that to me, and I had her for 2 different grades at the school I went to. Although by the time I reached the 2nd grade I had her in, I just learned how to ignore her. And she told my mother that she thought I was a much happier child because I had matured. But anyhow, Yeah, so I thought that was
Interesting.
also another clever layer within this. And it's really like whether it's intentional or not intentional, it's solid writing, I guess.
Yes, but also it's interesting because I took away something completely different.
What did you take away?
Um, I mean, maybe this is because I have more time with Eraserhead, but like I don't remember disliking Eraserhead either, kind of, right?
Oh, okay.
Because again, it's more of him like he's establishing like, hey, if you use this power this way, and there was a real incident, like you're just gonna be dead weight, dude. You're gonna get other people hurt. And like that's just a true statement, right?
Yeah, no,
He's
totally.
being real. He's being completely real. It's like you can't do this because other people are gonna die, and if you can't fix it, then I'm gonna expel you. And that's why it was so creative when he's like, I'm between a rock and a hard place, and I'm gonna solve it in this very creative way. And Eraserhead has to be like, okay, fine, right? You solved the riddle, like you came up with a very good solution, and like I'm curious to see where you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Yeah, Deku probably should have been expelled.
it's a little like the way they handled him in that situation. I don't know if stuff was getting lost in translation too. I didn't screenshot it, but Eraserhead just being like this kid, and I don't know enough about Japanese enunciation. Like it was a line that could have been delivered probably a bunch of different ways depending on what his intentions were. So I wasn't sure if it was in the face was also kind of hard to read. So I couldn't understand, at least watching the Japanese version, if he was impressed, awed, seeing potential in him, or is like this fucking guy.
I'd have to know at which point. You mean like after he solved it? After
Yes,
he's like,
after
I'm
he
gonna use one
solves it.
finger? I mean, subject to interpretation. Yeah, that one's kind of vague. Um, I took it as being like somewhat impressed, um, and or taken aback and or surprised, but like I don't think it's like an angry reaction per se, and I don't want to say more because it'll be kind of spoilery, but like
That's fair. And I think, again, like, this is just me spending a little bit of time with this character. Maybe there was just things that I took in the wrong way from him. Because, like I said, when he first showed up, I was like, this dude's awesome. And I was like, he
yeah,
kind of seems like. I was like, I guess the school's real tough. Like,
it's like, God, how do I describe it, right? Like I could understand coming into it, reading it as like, is this Professor Snape kind of
yeah,
thing?
yeah, 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 exactly.
But it's not.
Okay. And that's just, I didn't.
uh,
I mean, I get a moment with him in, like, this episode and a little bit of the next, and that's kind of it. I mean, again,
I mean,
the
I'm
sleeping
I'm
bag
I'm
intro is
unclear if
pretty
it's like
good.
a media conditioning thing or not, because having kind of like a correct, proper, just like brutally honest character is not a thing that happens a lot. Maybe in general, but also like I don't know. I don't watch enough American media to be like,
But
this
I
is how
also
characters are
think
usually portrayed. But usually it's like either they're like kind of like lighthearted, happy-go-lucky on your side, or like they're a rude asshole and you're not supposed to like them.
I'm not even relying on American media. I'm
No,
relying
I
on
know.
experiences being in school
Okay.
as a
So it was just
child.
your experience growing up as a child.
Did you have teachers that were like super direct? In not in college, but like
This is again though pseudo cultural thing.
yeah.
I mean, first of all, I'll say that like I didn't get too much feedback from most of my teachers because I didn't need it. And then also, if anything, they'd be like, I have high expectations of you because you seem to be able to do things. And I'd be like, this is unmerited and I don't want it. But, but like, if I were to give you sort of a direct comparison, when I did Taekwondo and Kwon Nim was like a 60-year-old ex like military black belt, like grandmaster black belt in Taekwondo, like that was his personality, right? Like he was just serious. He'd make jokes too, but like a lot of the time, like when they give feedback, they're just being very serious and very direct, and like that's how it's done. It's like a culture of respect and like hierarchy kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um, so
that's
like that's why it doesn't feel that weird to me of being like you can't do that because you know you'll get hurt or someone will die or like whatever, and you need to fix it.
no, that makes
And they're not
sense.
doing it because they just having a bad day. They're like, this is how I teach people things. I just tell you directly what's wrong and you fix it.
Yeah, I'm like, is that effective? But it's
I guess again it sort of depends on the culture. Like another thing I could get into that's just a personal life thing is I'm a software engineer and I do lots of code reviews. And when you're doing code reviews, there's a spectrum, right? But like on the one hand, you can be like, here's just me giving you direct feedback of like how you should fix this. And then I've also gotten feedback that like, oh, don't leave too many critiques and like try and make a joke out of it and be like, ha, you fucked this up, haha, winky face. And it's like, I'm exaggerating, but I much more lean on like okay, if there's ways to improve this or things that are like against the style guide or that can be improved, like you just say it, right? You're like, you missed a period here, or like you should reformat this, or like it'd be faster if you did this instead. And you just kind of state it bluntly. And like, sure, the first few times I got code reviews like that as a fresh software engineer, like it hurt my ego. And then I just learned to get over it. And I kind of prefer it that way overall, as opposed to this world of like, how do I like, let me like make some small idle chat to be like, hey, I was reading your thing and I noticed that like this could be wrong. Like, it's a cultural thing.
yeah, I also feel like in my profession, right, where I give people a lot of feedback,
Yeah.
I've learned the best way to yield results is to also curtail the message to the recipient. If that makes sense.
I'm like, what do you mean by curtail?
Some people I can talk much more bluntly, and
Yeah.
other people I do need the lead up.
Yeah.
And so I think that to me is a sign of a good teacher in some regards of like, hey, everyone hears and processes information differently, and are different types of learners. And so also in this case where he's like, oh my God, I'm already freaking out. And this teacher's like calling me on my freaking out. Wah! If that makes sense. Yeah, no, I get they're supposed to be saving heroes and stuff. I mean, this is how to deliver feedback is a completely different topic. But also, like, we also see in the next episode that even All Might has some questionable things going on too. It's not just Eraserhead, and I'm like by default supposed to like All Might, right? I mean, this is like totally kind of veering off topic though too.
I think you could dislike All Might and it'd be fine. I mean, it's sort of off topic, but I also think it's relevant because like it is very much a like Western versus Eastern cultural thing. Where on the one hand, I totally get how like in a very like, yeah, I don't want to say it's like a Western American thing, but like, yeah, like effective communication, you curtail to the audience, you're supposed to be more accommodating because like realistically, in a sense, that's more effective. It's just like in a more Eastern point of view, it's like the way the relationship is, it's like you're expected to just listen to the teacher. And you can be like, oh, that's bad for the individual. And I'd be like, on the one hand, yes, but it's like, if he has to spend more time on one individual, then it takes away from the rest of the class. So I'm not saying there's a right or wrong here. I'm just saying like, I definitely feel like there's a style element there.
That being said though, right, I went to film school and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I explained this. I think I have maybe offline, but not on stream. So I chose the film school I went to, partially because if I didn't do film school, I was going to do computer science, and the school seemed like it had decent of both. But most film schools, you don't actually produce things. You just study theory for 3 or 4 years, and then your senior year, you get to finally make a movie. That's USC, that's NYU. So where I went, RIT, you start like week 2 of film cameras put into your hand, and you kind of build upon your skill set. And when I went there, it was the quarter system, mostly for the engineering kids who did co-ops. But at the end of every quarter, since almost every student in film school, film and animation, was producing something, you had some sort of final that you had to show at screenings. And it would be like 3 or 4 days, and you would go and sign up for a slot, and then you would screen in front of all of the faculty, whether they knew you or not, and in front of all the other kids who were there in the room. And at the end of your screening, anyone could raise their hand and say anything. And it was definitely, it wasn't sugar-coated. That's for sure. You might get some people who are like, wow, this is really good, la la la. And then you get people, right, per our other episode, who might be like, these transitions are shit and you're shit, like effectively to your face. And you had to stand up at a podium and be like, great, thanks, I'll think about it next time. I'm gonna go cry now. But then you got used to it. But it was like 4 years of 3 times a year standing up in front of your entire school getting shit on. And it was an interesting experience as far as feedback and being told and what's good and what's not good, to say the least.
Would you say you learned from it and grew as a person?
Yeah, I learned how to take feedback, and also on some sense of what feedback's worth listening to and what feedback is someone getting navel-gazy, or people who, right, like, they're not all feedback's quality feedback, let's put it that way.
Absolutely.
And then there's also the, like, what can I separate from, you have to be able to look at your own work and take a step back, and sometimes that's even harder. I think it was harder even sometimes in a creative sense, when you're pouring your heart and soul into something that's really creative, and it's much more aligned with something deeper within inside yourself, and then being like, I didn't get it, and you're just like, oh god, fuck. Everything's awful.
Yeah.
But I did write down, which I think, where are we with the screen? Yeah, so we've had this image up for a while. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I did like that it shows him in the 20th place. Again, clever writing, so you can, the point I was only going to make here is that you can watch him go up the ranks. And then I'd also put teacher rival question marks, but we covered that. And then they get into class. Also, they have this English class, and he's like, which English sentence is the wrong one? Or like, there's a different way they phrased it. And I was like, philosophically, I'm like, I can't English myself. And I was like, number 1's definitely not correct for me, but... And then they like briefly touch on it's number 4, but I was like, why is it wrong? What? The end. So I just wanted to comment on I'm an idiot.
Yeah. Sure. Honestly, I didn't even bother reading the English, but yeah, good catch there. Something I realized that I should mention in a this is anime kind of way is do you understand the significance of them being in 1A?
No.
Okay. So this is anime, and then this is also possibly Japanese school in general. It's like one of those things where like it's very unclear to me if this is the type of thing that all schools do, or this is the type of thing that some schools do, and it's just in anime a lot. But basically 1 is the year, and then the letter is which like rank class they are. So 1A means these are the best students that entered the school this year. And then they get shuffled each year. So like this is sort of spoilery, but like I think it's important to know because this is just a thing that you're kind of assumed to know in the Japanese school system, is like the 1B students were the ones below the 1A students, et cetera, right? So all the top scorers in the entrance exam are in 1A. So like this is the best students for this year in the school at the most like selective, prestigious hero school in the country.
But for like year 1 students, so like in theory, there's like a 2A class and a 3A and a 4A, right?
Correct. Well,
okay.
Only up to 3, but yes.
Okay. Oh yeah, I was like, is Japanese high school effectively what we would consider sophomore through seniors?
Yes.
Okay, no, that's good to know. Thanks for adding that clarification.
Yeah, I feel like that. Okay, I was gonna add another piece on there. So there's that element of it. So like again, just kind of like to reestablish of like, on the one hand, I could understand it like maybe a different school or something, you'd want a different type of teacher, but like this is like the most prestigious, hardest whatever school, and they say as much like, we're gonna constantly challenge you and it's gonna suck and you're gonna have to deal with it. So the other part is how did the Grape Idiot make into 1A? The other important part that sort of maps to, I don't know if this comes up in My Hero Academia, but like every year there's exams at the end of the year, and they do this for all exams. So they do it for midterms and like end of the year exams, etc. They just put all the rankings up on a giant board, and they're like, all right, from student like 1 to like whatever, here's what everyone's score was. And it's like a frequent trope of people go and look at the, so you're like, here's the scoreboard of like 1 through 20, and I'm like, that's a very common thing where they'll just be like, here's everyone's test score, you can see that these people are the smart ones and here's the stupid ones.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that. This is my worst fear. Like, it triggers high school shit for me. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know how you're going to feel about a lot of anime. I mean, that's not all of them are about trying to be the best there ever was. A lot of them are about just being chill. But yeah, so.
Well, no, again, we talked about it.
Competition and all that.
Offline, but right, like I went to a really small competitive college prep school, and I was technically in the bottom half of my class for like getting B's, which were like 90s and 92s, and because I was bottom half of my class of 48, like opportunities were withheld from me and like shit like that, because it just was like super competitive. And then also I didn't know I was dyslexic at the time, and yeah, really walked out of that school feeling like I was a dum-dum. To say the least.
Fair.
Like it just
actually that's going to be relevant in the inverse to our Bakugou conversation. And part of me is like, should we segue already? But one thing I do want to call out that was weird to me is Deku, they're gonna, like, you've seen it a few times now where he like thinks his way out of a situation, but also after taking the entrance exam, he's like, I barely passed the written part of the exam, and I'm like, I don't remember if they showed his written score.
No.
But I'm like, how is he like a mediocre like student, but also like this creative like hero person?
Well,
which sort of is like, yeah, people are better at the thing they're passionate at. Somebody's just like a savant at that specifically, but.
Yeah, it's, I mean, well, one, I was also surprised by that because I thought his studying of hero stuff was building him up, that, like, his academics were going to carry him. But then when they said his score was low, but then, yeah, I mean, like, I knew the most random shit in, like, middle school about my favorite band and, like, every single B-side and, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was smart on different things and teaching myself, like, which in my ancient day was a big deal, like teaching myself HTML. But then it was like, oh, I have to read this book for English? That's dumb. I don't want to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Kat saying Deku is supposed to be someone with ADHD. Maybe. I don't know. They don't really get into his like actual academics that much, I think. They sort of don't get into anyone's academics that much. I think probably the actual reason why they set it up that way is because there are characters whose quirk is that they're like a super genius kind of thing.
Mm.
So on the one hand, like, yeah, you want, and like it makes for good story writing for him to be creative in all these ways and for like him to get payoff out of being a hero fan. On the flip side, like if he just was an actual genius on top of being super strong, like you possibly end up in the Batman scenario again, and you know how I feel about Batman. Yeah.
Which is
But-
fine because I have no super strong feelings on Batman. So
Yeah.
I did also write where I was like, damn it, why the costumes for girls gotta be this? I was like, here comes the young boy appeal parts. Got it.
I was actually going to ask partly about that of like, it's hard for me to discern. So, how do I like, on the one hand, yes, the female outfits are more like skin tight, like obviously, and some of the characters are more of that than the others. Whereas like Froppy, sorry, the girl who looks like a frog, I don't know if they've introduced her as Froppy yet. Like kind of is just an outfit. She's the one on the
she
left.
does. But then this girl's got not only like inner side boob, it goes all the way down to her navel, and you kind of see some panty. And it's like, this outfit is, I mean, it like, I'm like, okay, I'm not shocked, but like everything else seemed like it was doing pretty well. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
all right. It is what it is.
They're gonna discuss some of that stuff later. Oh God, yeah. They're gonna discuss some of that later, and they get into like how there's elements to the hero ranking besides just being a good hero. There's like popularity and how that relates to
Yeah.
the following they build. But what I was going to say is like there is the one aspect that is the design of the outfits themselves, which I'm like, yeah, it's already kind of questionable. But I was gonna say, one, like the posing, at least for the most part, isn't like overtly sexual, I think.
Mostly,
Or at least there's not a ton of it.
It's my God, compared to the first anime we watched, it's very minimal. It's
and I'm also trying to think
yeah.
of like compared to Marvel movies. I'm pretty sure Marvel movies are more male gazy by comparison, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. Well, so that's the other thing, right? Like I looked at what the girls' outfits were, and I tried to do a better job about being like, well, are they also presenting males in an unrealistic
that's what I was
fashion
gonna
as
follow up
well?
with.
Yeah. But it was also funny because this girl also like ends up commenting on it. She's like, mine ended up being a skin tight bodysuit, and then the next line is like, I'm so embarrassed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's got little horse feet. And then right, this was really
like,
cute
heel things
too, where All Might's like,
that
lol.
was such a good roast. Yeah.
That was pretty cute. Yeah, and then honestly oh,
by the way, I'm assuming you don't know comic books.
not really. Like I said, I've only
okay.
read a few Marvel.
If anyone in chat can confirm when they said All Might, it was like, oh, it's the Silver Age, whatever.
Oh,
like, I
yeah.
know they're referring to the Silver Age of comic books. What I don't know for certain is like, is it actually in the style of the Silver Age of American comic books? Is that a direct reference to like Superman or something that I don't know? Or like Marvel Man?
Yeah, I know enough to know
Because I think it might be. I just don't know enough to know that specifically.
Oh my God, Zinni just replied on Twitter. Oh my God, Meg, you're already a VTuber. Not quite.
Yes.
My model's coming. I'm so excited. And then Girl Hack will be born.
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. Yeah, I know enough about comics to understand that Silver Age was a reference to something like that. Also,
I understood the reference. I was just, does anyone know beyond that of like, oh yeah, that's so and so from whatever?
I mean, we could take a look.
I mean, we could look it up, but I was just hoping someone in chat could just do the work for me so I didn't have to. Anyway, moving right along. What were we talking about? They get in their costumes. They're kitted out. I am Team Bakugou. No, I'm kidding. I'm Team Deku, but I'll gladly defend Bakugou when we get there. So what are we on? We talked about 4. We talked about 5. So 6 is them coming out in their outfits, right?
Yeah. So, and then it starts to set up that they're gonna do the training class. All Venus roasting you.
Hmm.
They set up that the class is combat training, and I wrote down how like Bagaku's character is like combat.
Bakugou. Say it with me. Bakugou. Bakugou.
Baku
Bakugou.
character is like, oh my god, combat, and then Deku's like training. Like I thought it was cute the way they split it, and clearly their intentions of like how they're
Yeah.
viewing the exercise, because so episode 7 I wrote down is a giant showdown. We've been given a lot of flashbacks in the previous 3 episodes to build up to this, like a lot of them going back to little kid stuff. And one of the things I thought as I was watching them as little kids was Deku kind of like idolizing him, right? He didn't have a quirk, and you know, Bagaku is he has a really cool
It's your
power.
dyslexia. It's fine.
He has a really cool power for a little kid, and just when you're
Also
young,
an adult, but sorry, young teen, but
wait,
yeah.
say that again.
I said because he has a really cool power for a kid, and I'm like, well, it's still his power as,
No,
as
no,
a
no,
young
in
adult.
the flashbacks. Yeah. No, but just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, it sets up Deku's like such a fan of quirks and the heroes, and then he knows this kid that's got a super cool power, and he's mean to him. Like every time they cut back to these flashbacks, the kid's kind of mean, and it reminded me too, just again, like layering it in of like, you know, what when you're little and you kind of look up to, you idolize kind of some of the wrong people for the wrong reasons, and you take their shit because you just like don't know any better. So I was like, poor Deku, he just wanted a quirk and his friend had a cool quirk and he was just like, yeah.
I mean, it was more than that, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, so it grew to where they challenged each other, and then there's a consistent flashback that of, you know, where Bagaku really felt like Deku was holding out on him this whole time, and it was such a
Yeah.
betrayal of what he wants, and wanting to be the biggest and greatest, and this kid has been lying to him, and he's pissed going into this.
Yeah. So I want to step back a bit. So like first of all, you said he idolized him for his power. He idolized him before anyone had powers.
Yeah.
Which is important. And then like so we're talking about things being hashtag relatable. Was this not like as relatable to your childhood as maybe it was to mine? Kind of. I'll say kind of.
Sorry, explain.
Right. So like there was a kid in my neighborhood growing up who I knew who was just like the athletic, like most athletic kid kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like I remember admiring that kid. Like I never really was close friends with them per se, and like they never bullied me or anything per se. But at the same time, I was like, yeah, I remember being a kid and being like, that boy is like the most athletic and coordinated, and that inherently makes them cooler than everyone else, and I want to be friends with that person. Oh my god. And then eventually growing up and being like, okay, that was like a poor indicator for what a person would become, etc., etc.
Yeah,
But, like,
yeah, exactly.
like to me, I was like, yeah, okay, I get it. Like you grew up in the same neighborhood, so immediately like you have to become friends by laws of like proximity, kind of. You go to the same school for all those years because you go to the nearest school. Yeah, like it was a really good, like just a genuine relationship thing, kind of. And then like, yeah, you're right. It then dovetails into, are we going straight to the episode 7 of the confrontation, as it were?
Yeah, I mean those are the early notes, and also to Kat in chat with figuring out what your quirk was. That's what I was going to end it on, is what would your quirk be? Which I decided to ask that question, but don't have an answer yet for myself. But anyhow, let's finish the episode discussion. So all I took for photos for this one was literally, I felt like there's two frames that really captured what seems to be the essence of both of these characters thus far. So you've got Deku, who, and this is like in the one flashback where he's like, to the second episode, where he's like, you look like you were asking for help. And that's what causes Deku's character to act and run in towards crazy stuff, is he thinks someone's injured or needs help and he wants to go help, and that's where his heart is, and why, and him crying is also part of that. And then you've got Bakugou, who's like, fuck you, man, I'm better than you and I'm gonna kill you, and I don't care because I have perceived you have done me wrongs and I'm the best and I'm going to be the best, and let me just like make that super clear. So that's the only two frames I took for this episode because it's like literally these two essences then going at it.
Okay. What are your thoughts on Bakugou?
I mean, I did say he's not right. I he's a really angry kid and I don't know why, but I feel like he is Almighty is a good champion. He, or All Might, I now know his name is All Might. I'm just like, why is he just so, like, is there is there other stuff going on at home? Like, I'm also like, they need to start making him a little bit more redeemable, because every time he's on screen, he's like, I am 110% angry, and now I'm just gonna be angry at Deku because I have nothing better in life than to be angry at this, like, kid. And I feel like the only motivation really given is he wanted to be the only one from his school to go to UA, and he wants to be the best, and Deku's getting in his way of that narrative.
So, on a surface level, I agree with that read. I ask first before I tell. What do you think is going to happen with him as a character over the course of the show?
I think the show seems like it has fairly solid storytelling. So I hope that I hope, right, so like he wants to do everything on his own and he wants to just prove he's the best. So I hope his character arc is he realizes he needs others.
Okay. Do you still think so? I feel like in the previous episode at one point you said he was going to be an enemy. Do you still feel that that's true?
I mean, currently, yeah. I like had downgraded enemy to like rival, and now I'm like, shit, no, he's an enemy. He's an enemy that Deku didn't choose, but from his point of view, Deku is his enemy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. From like their perspective, I could see the perception of them being an enemy per se. Sorry, you said Bakugou perceiving Deku as an enemy?
Yeah.
Or
someone in his way.
Yeah, okay, that I agree with. I don't think Deku perceives Bakugou as an enemy, which is for the best. Which is just like a difference in perspective. I guess I more meant enemy in the sense of like plot device enemy. Like absolutely he's an antagonist. But like I feel like if this had been, instead of like a long running anime, if this was a movie, and then like maybe if it was some other type of medium, it would be something where like he becomes, this is, maybe I'm getting into a little spoiler stuff. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Like it would absolutely be something where it's like, oh, they get jaded and like they get recruited maybe to the other side and like they turn, et cetera, and become like a villain or something, right? Like, and you get Draco Malfoy essentially, right? It's like, oh, like I think less of Harry Potter because blah blah blah, and I'm gonna compete with him, and now that I'm seeing that I'm losing or whatever, and like for various other reasons, I'm gonna like fight for the other side. And they try and make it a little tragic in Harry Potter, but like it's nearly not as well. it's not that interesting of a character. Whereas like Bakugou probably has the best story arc after Deku in this anime in terms of the amount of like development. I guess it's debatable. Like I guess besides voting for like what team are you, another question would be like who has the best arc and or character development in My Hero Academia, if chat wants to vote on that one.
I have no idea
so,
yet.
like,
I couldn't make that decision.
Sure. Because so we've sort of established what ends up being the shonen loop at this point, right? Like, sequence of events happens that causes a confrontation between some pairing of characters, and then that's used as an excuse to explore the backstory and character of like one or more individuals, right? And like in this case, they have a history together, and it has that much more interesting dynamic where there's two at a time. But like what'll frequently be the case is like they'll introduce like a villain, or maybe this will be like the first time this hero is doing something, and they'll be like, okay, let's take some time to develop this character's backstory. Where's I going with that? So a lot of characters will get like 1 or 2 episodes maybe across like the whole arc of the show at best, whereas like Bakugou is going to be a recurring developing character. And then yeah, so I said at the surface level I agree with you. What I didn't get into, but like I kind of want to talk about more to answer, because I could cue. Sorry, I got distracted by people freaking out.
Oh, you asked
As
had
an
a
obstacle
question.
in enemy, that's a good question. I'm afraid to answer because I might spoil with non-anime knowledge. I don't know if those statements are related. Oh, Meg is a Time Lord. I'm very confused with chat right now.
Chat's
so
all over. I
in-
saw
in a
some
more-
rapid deletions. I
in a
didn't
more-
read what they were. I just saw Meg doesn't know that yet, and then a bunch of what Venus said got nuked.
Oh, wait, no spoilers, Venus. Shame on you. So only I'm allowed to spoil things. From a social psychology standpoint, from a more psychology standpoint, like it's interesting to me because a lot of Bakugou's character can be described by like him as an early child. He, much like Deku, except from the opposite perspective, realizes like there's inequality. I'm just better than a lot of other people. How do I explain that, right? And like on the one hand, he could feel guilty, or he could develop a huge ego, right? Like there's sort of two ways. Like how do I explain the world and its inequalities as a 4-year-old? And
Yeah.
like, yeah, I think it's very interesting that he developed into this arc of like, I guess I'm just better than people, and that's just the way the world is. And then that fuels what his character becomes in his ego. And now he's finally at a point where up till now there's been nothing able to challenge him, and he's finally entering a spot in his life where he has to come to terms with that.
Yeah,
And
I
there
like
will be a
that. Yeah.
reckoning. And that's slowly what's starting to happen with his character, because it's not just going to be Deku, right? It's going to be a number of other characters that are going to challenge him now.
Sure.
And that's why it's so interesting. Like, in my terms of like a lot of academics and stuff growing up, like I said that I wasn't particularly challenged, and like it wasn't until I got into like college or the workplace where suddenly it's like, oh, actually like things are hard, and what do I do about that? And suddenly you have like this crisis of identity happening. So in a sense, like he's very much going to just be starting now to have this crisis of identity, and very much Deku was like, in his mind he establishes like, you are below me, came up with this justification for why it's okay, and now he's like, what do I do with the fact that that might not be true?
Yeah.
Like it's a fundamental truth of his identity that it's now just being like flipped on him, and that can be extremely unsettling.
I think that's a really good
yeah.
analysis, and I agree with a lot of that, and that's even in a way where I'm like, okay, like this kid feels, you did a way better job explaining it than I did, of like, he just feels lied to. He feels like, what the fuck, like I lived a lie with you around, and now it's questioning my identity. I just also think he's hyper aggro about it, and All Might let him push it way too far, and I'm like, oh god, I'm old, because I'm like, stop them fighting. Someone's gonna get hurt badly.
Yeah, but I mean, I am being judged. So I agree, but also like, yeah, and we can talk now, I guess, about All Might and like whether his judgment was questionable. obviously there's a conflict of interest with All Might that's being established, where on the one hand he's an educator at this school, but on the other hand, like, his primary objective is this, like, kind of handing off of the torch of his power, because it's already, like, he explained that he was not the first person in this lineage of, like, this power, right? So, like,
are they avatars in secret?
To cultivate Deku.
Are they actually avatars? Is All Might an avatar? I'm just joking because the power's handed down.
Kind of. That's a good comparison.
Because I'm also trying to finish that show.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. So it's sort of like that, right? And it's interesting because on the one hand, like, his take is, I need this for Deku to grow as an individual, but I also like it being there for Bakugou, right? Like, because him losing is, like, as important as Deku winning. So yeah. And, like, the fact that there's that much tension there, like, it's great story writing that you're, like, on the edge of your seat being like, I feel like you should stop this, but maybe not, I'm not sure.
It's like, it's been the last Deku bender this whole time. Doku bender.
Oh my god.
I also like, Kat, when you just say that things are basically the same show. Or, like, X is basically the same. X and Y. Deku Sember. Oh, look at the uwu.
It's a woo, please.
Cat did a woo.
Thank you. This is not Family Guy. Don't you mention that.
Paul picked the background.
Chat. I'm gonna remove that comment. How dare you?
Oh shit.
Remove.
You're not. Are you even a mod?
Yes.
Okay, I couldn't remember if I modded
Don't bring
you.
that filth.
I can also give you access
chat.
to this channel too. You've not seemed to desire access yet.
Oh, I mean, I got an email about it. I just didn't know what to do with it. I've never had a channel.
Oh.
That's not entirely true. I've had channels. I just don't really know how to use the tools. Anyway.
That's Meg's sigh. Also, we need to set up Nightbot so we can get some chat can play with Nightbot and things we say.
I guess, yeah. Bakugou, yeah, thank you.
Bakugou?
So, I guess, are you more open to the potential future of Bakugou now that we've talked about it?
Yeah, because I feel like this show has solid, like I said, has fairly solid writing so far. So I feel like they wouldn't fall into the trap of just making him, like, every time you see him on screen, you hate him.
Yeah.
Because that's, again, it's really easy to do. Like, it sometimes can be really hard to write the villain. Or the perceived...
He's not a villain.
But, like... Okay, villain is... like, if you downgrade that term 1,000 times to the protagonist, a poser, like, I don't, like...
That's why I said he's an antagonist. He's an anti-hero, maybe.
Yeah.
He might be an anti-hero.
I mean... I don't know. But also, I think it's interesting, you're, like, taking that analogy of, like, the kid who went to private school, who I was, like, Mr. Vegan Man, who no one agreed with me. I also didn't actually go and look at that other picture from Scott Pilgrim before I said that. Fair. I just relied on poor memory.
Yeah.
Like, that kid, right? Like, it's just, there's a difference in both of them being really skilled and both of them wanting to, like, be the best, if you will, but Bakugou is just like, I'm gonna take out everyone and I have to just be the best, where I feel like the other guy is like, I just need to be my best.
Sure.
Just different ways to handle things in life, that's all I'm saying.
Sure. I'm like, how do I respond to this without being spoiler central again over here?
Although it was really funny, just to, real quick, it was funny and cute when the girl, the nice person, like, snuck up on him by the, like, quote-unquote paper mache atomic bomb, and he's like, yeah. I'm a villain, I am super evil, and she's like, wow, he's taking it so seriously. I thought that was adorable, the end.
Oh, right, that's what I honor. Yeah, so Ida like they'll get into it, but like he has a motivation, and it's not like I'm just trying to be the best I can be, you know, in like a very good-natured way, and like I'm just gonna like put my all into it. Like no, like it's gonna get into it, and like it's all about like family and honor.
Got it.
And they're gonna explore both like the pros and cons of that. It just hasn't gotten there yet. But it's great. Yeah, like every character. God, I don't know. Other than the character that everyone hates, that I don't feel the need to mention. I mean, not every character in Class 1A gets explored. A lot of them do, though, and especially like the main ones. So like eventually we'll find out what Uraraka's deal is, and like yeah, the ones who get a lot of screen time, eventually you'll get to know who they are and why they are.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, overall, I
Also,
think it's.
Bakugou's mom is A plus.
Yeah, she's super
Gonna
sweet.
throw that out there.
I.
Oh no, you haven't met Bakugou's
Oh,
mom.
Bakugou.
You've met
Oh.
Deku's mom.
Yeah.
I think all the moms. Chat, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think every mom so far in My Hero Academia is like a good mom.
I would love that. That'd be very sweet and adorable.
Yeah.
No, it's a cute show. I'm glad I watched more. I think last time I said like I would just add it to my proverbial list of like, oh, I should like sit down and watch this. Mandalorian's now also over. I want to finish Avatar.
How long are Mandalorian episodes?
Anywhere from 20 to 45 minutes.
Wait,
Average 30.
they're not the same?
No. Because they're not cut for air. They're cut for online.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's actually, I like that better so
Fascinating.
that a story is getting it's not being stretched in a way that's made for unnecessary force on the episode.
Agree. Big agree. Yeah, because that's a lot of my problem with. I feel like a lot of American TV shows are like an hour long in length, and then you cut it down and it's like 40 to 45 minutes, and then a lot of it is like feels kind of padded. At least that was my experience watching Breaking Bad, where like there are definitely episodes where I'm like, this is dragging on. It's because they're trying to fill 40 minutes of content here.
I mean, that's a really long time for anyone to fill week after week, in all fairness.
I know, and that's why I'm like, why do you have to do it this way?
Yeah.
Specifically, why does it have to be an hour long instead of a half hour? And I feel like that goes back into like, if it's a serious adulty show, it has to be an hour in length.
Sean, there was one episode I'm fairly certain was definitely under 30 minutes. Maybe 20 minutes was an exaggeration, but I'm pretty sure there's one under 30. But yeah, no, it's, yeah, so I feel like actually watching this arc, made me want to maybe watch it a little bit more sooner, or like make time for it, but I need to get finish Avatar, Last Airbender, and then kind of want to go back and visit Cowboy Bebop. But it seems like a delightful show that's really solid that I also can just enjoy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's very
actually,
nutritious.
Go ahead. Sorry, say it again.
It's not dense like Cowboy Bebop in the way that my brain processes it, because my brain has to it like ticks all the like the film school boxes, and then I just like can't help but analyze because I really want to. And so like that's like eating something very rich, where this is just like, this is a solid, good, nutritious show.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. And I would actually like to talk about that. Yeah, well, you can do it now. There's something I want to come back to is how My Hero Academia does like mini recaps in the episode and whether or not that's good. But before we go that, yeah, let's talk about the whole like how Cowboy Bebop's so rich versus this is not as rich in the sense of like the presentation, because I would argue that the narrative is much richer in My Hero Academia than Cowboy Bebop. Granted, we only watched the first 3 episodes of Cowboy Bebop, and like eventually they explore some of like Spike's backstory, and like I don't want to say there's nothing there.
Yeah, I think maybe it boils down to what gets me really excited, like there's a brief moment in time where I thought about becoming a cinematographer when I was in film school. And
Mm-hmm.
so framing, just really good lighting and really good framing, just like I don't it's like AMSR to me, but to my eyes, if you will. Like it's just there's something about every picture as a frame. I know that's like kind of a cliche that people like will repeat, but it's true. When stuff is done really, really well in like a rich, dense way, whereas like the style of this show is very much one or two people are in focus. It's not overly artistic, and that's fine. The show doesn't need to be. It's clever. It's still done really well, but not in the way that Bebop was doing it, right?
So when you said every frame a picture, did you mean every frame a painting or every picture a frame? I'm confused.
People can say
I've heard
painting
every
or
frame
picture.
a painting. I haven't
Yeah.
heard what you said.
I mean, the
Okay,
idea
so
is
it
you
can
pull.
be either.
So really, in film school, it was like film is film is film is film, which is to say, whether you're working with an 8mm, 16mm, 32, 72, that what you do with celluloid is all the same, whether you're taking still photography or you're doing moving picture. And so every still is a painting, or every frame is a painting. I feel like we didn't say that phrase specifically as much, more as like referencing, because RAT at that point was the #1 photography school in the country. We would say every like frame is a picture in the reference of more like the
Interesting.
photography program that was there
Yeah.
on campus. So that's, I think, why I say it's
Okay.
slightly different, but it's same concept.
Do you stand by that?
Really good filmmaking, yes. I made that comment with Cowboy Bebop, that I kept pausing it and everything was just framed like really gorgeously. But again, to go into like filmmaking, there's many different parts that carry a story, and not everything is going to shine at all parts of it. Shine or maybe deliver on what you want specifically, where this show has a really good and cute narrative, and it's very clever. Again, it's I'm giving it a lot of credit for like taking what is kind of a lot of cliche concepts and mushing them in together and still making it fresh. That's what you want every time. That's what everyone aims for when they go to make, an animation or movie or tell a new story, is you want something that's familiar but fresh, and they execute really well on it.
So
It's not
the reason
cinematic
why I
though.
asked is no, I know. The reason why I ask, and like sort of what I want to kind of discuss, and I can sort of better express by metaphor, is like for me it's a question of what the focus is. And for the record, like obviously there's a place for the amazing like cinematography and like all that good stuff, and like I think Cowboy Bebop does that well. For me, it's sort of a question of like, what is it you care about or want the most? So like as an example, like when I was doing a lot of music stuff in high school, my like band director, etc., would always be like, every phrase you should do some kind of dynamic shift, right? Because it adds complexity and that makes the whole overall performance better. Do you know what I mean by when I say like a dynamic?
Nope.
Okay. So dynamics is like the volume that you play, and if you're
Okay.
reading a piece of sheet music, like the composer would have probably written like, okay, like maybe this part is piano, which is soft, or this part is forte, which is loud, etc., etc.
Okay.
But like there's just some general guidelines there. And then if you're being a serious musician performer, what you do is you have a pencil and you're going to go through and like every phrase and you're like, all right, I'll crescendo a little bit here and I'll crescendo a little bit here and like do this or that, the other thing. And like because I was in jazz band and I was the first chair alto seat, like I was like had to do this and explain it and come to agreement with like the saxophone section, so we'd all be doing it together, etc., etc. But the point is like you're adding all this nuance and complexity, what have you, which like to a seasoned ear and someone like who's gonna sit down and listen to the music, like that's what you want if you want to have like this experience. Okay, fine.
Mm-hmm.
Modern music production is all about compression, right? So they're like, we can use essentially math, is sort of, but also just like digital whatever to take out all, and like you might have heard about some of this, we'll take out all the dynamic shift and we'll just make everything loud. So I don't know if you've noticed this shift. It's happened like significantly in the last 20 years, just to throw out a very conservative number.
Is this with like all music, all genres?
Not classical or jazz music.
Okay.
But like popular music, yes.
Okay.
This is just a thing that's done in popular music where like you're gonna compress it, and like right now I'm compressed too. Like, so in my audio settings, I'm compressing my vocal audio because for the average listener and the average experience, I mostly just want to hear the melody and like the beat.
Sure. Okay.
And like maybe I'm listening like through an MP3 player or on the radio or from a boombox or from some like small ass headphones or something. Like I'm not gonna be there, and like my focus is like I just want a good melody that I can hum along to and remember and like know the lyrics, and like that's what the majority of people want. So like for me, I'm not saying one's right or wrong. I'm just saying like it's an element of like focus. And I think a lot of what draws me to anime generally is because it, not just the cinematography, it kind of cuts away a lot of things that I don't care as much about, right?
Sure.
So like the costuming is simpler. It lets you do whatever you want with the character instead of being like, well, we have to cast some actors and like maybe this actor versus that actor will have like these significant differences in their acting or whatever. I'm like, I kind of just want to get like the story and the reaction and like that element of it, and I think that's why I like it so much.
No, that makes sense. And I think to like try.
Yeah.
I think that's good to know and good for me to also understand. And I think, you know, one of the reasons I went to film schools, I just was also interested in everything. I thought about computer science. I thought about meteorology. I thought about sports medicine. I like literally had a really wide gambit of things I was into. And one thought was I loved Star Wars. I wanted to work on the next Star Wars, even though it just wasn't even a concept at that point. And it was like one quote from George Lucas in the late 80s that my mom told me growing up of like, oh, George plans to like make the prequels. And I knew that as a child and wanted to grow up and be a part of it. But when I got into film, I was like, I like documentaries. I like narrative. I like sci-fi. I like all of it. And so when it comes to film too, I think I really used my time there to just be like, I can watch almost anything. I will judge the show based on what the show gives me, if that makes sense. And sometimes it's like, okay, this could have done it better, or like what is a show or movie what promises is it making? So, but to my preferences, I love the stuff like, right, like we went and saw it, 2001: A Space Odyssey. Like the story's kind of like weirdo, but like I love sweeping images on a big screen, and I love worlds that are really detailed. Like I love The Fifth Element. Like, but then, you know, I love Tron, although that's like a total nostalgic pick at this point. And so when I go down and when I sit to watch something, it's like I said, it's also kind of assessing like, what is this show going to be good at? What's this movie going to be good at? What's its strength? And then leaning into that of like, okay, I'm shifting my enjoyment, or like what I'm going to pay attention to on what its strongest suits that it's giving me, if that makes sense.
Yes. No, I agree. I think that's entirely reasonable and practical. I think the metaphor, I don't know if we want to have our conversation right now about like production animation techniques in that article, because technically we never discussed it.
I want to review it, but we should talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it next week. But I'll use this as like a stand-in metaphor right now. It's sort of like, I think this has been sort of more well discovered in cooking, right?
Like I was going to relate it to food, actually. I was actually going to go there.
What were you going to say? What was your example going to be?
I was going to say, like, in the sense of just, like, there's a bunch of different cuisines, and you can be like, cool, I'm going to go get, like, a croque madame from this, like, French place, and you're like, I'm expecting certain French flavors. I know what this is going to be, and then you're like, man, this sandwich did not live up to what I expected or whatnot. But I appreciate French. I appreciate Japanese. I appreciate, those different meal types. And then you can go deeper into like, did it trigger my like sense of umami versus sweet versus bitter, la la la. That's kind of the general direction. And also I did try to get Paul to be a VTuber tonight. Did not happen. I tried, people.
I wanted to focus on us getting the stuff watched first. Maybe next week I'll also be a VTuber.
Next week you'll be
eventually
here.
I'm going to be upstaged. Oh, that's true. We'll have to figure that out. So the metaphor I was going to go with is like seasoning.
Sure. Yeah.
Because like even culinary techniques. And like the metaphor I'm going to go with is like meat and specifically steak, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the realm of cooking a good steak, if you have a good cut of steak, for the most part, you don't do a lot to it, especially with seasoning.
Right. Yep.
Because
you don't
that
touch
ruins the flavor of the core element of a good steak. Whereas like if you have a shit cut of meat, you probably want to do a lot of work to try and make that tender and add some flavor to it. And I guess that's sort of like the metaphor that I'm going for is like I understand there's all these what's the right word I want? It's not cinematographic.
Just cinematography.
Like what is the term for making something more cinematic?
That.
Is it just more cinematic?
Yeah, you said it.
Okay.
Good job.
Yeah, more cinematic. No, we're not gonna be the same like girl VTuber. We have different hair colors. So the metaphor that I'm going for is like I don't think it would be right if in an ideal world everything was more cinematic because
yeah.
Like there's interesting things of like, hey, you get to focus more on the flavor of the steak because we didn't put as much seasoning on it. Which isn't to say that like there are some rare instances where someone's like, I'm gonna take a great cut of steak and put fancy seasoning on it, and you'll be able to appreciate both at the same time. That's just really hard, and I feel like I rarely see it happen.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's funny because I like I roasted a chicken tonight so I can make yet more bone broth and was like very careful with my seasoning, and I finally have all my seasonings on the wall and I get really excited. I feel like I'm shopping and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna put a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and I have a little pestle mortar. I have the thing where you grind it all up.
Pestle and mortar, yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks for... I just popped in and confused why they're talking about food. We're talking about cinema, God.
Yeah, we're talking about how a lot of anime isn't very cinematic and whether or not that is a boon or a bane.
I think it's fine. I think that, like, it doesn't bother me.
No, I know. I guess I should frame where this is coming from for people who weren't part of the original conversation. So like in the onset of what this podcast was going to be, part of the element was Meg has a background in film and cinematography and bringing that critical analysis to her exploration of anime. And the thing I feel like we're running into, not necessarily in a bad way, but just happens to be the case, is a lot of anime isn't trying to be that cinematic.
But that's one element, right? Like, that's why also tonight I made a lot of points just on story and what it was doing and delivering really well with story. And, like, we kind of covered that in the first episode of My Hero Academia of, like, this in many ways is what I picture anime to be, with just, like, picture on screen of, like, the character, and then, like, the background's, like, missing, and it's, like, frantic animation and, like, lines and things happening, and it's, like, very dramatic, and the action, and I was like, okay, this is what I thought. This is what I expected all anime would be, and it's not been, but this is also what I was waiting and anticipating for.
Yep. Yeah. And I think the fact that there is so much focus on the story is why I like it so much.
Yeah, I think that was interesting. You're like, basically, like, I appreciate that it's stripped down to just like, okay, I want to watch something talk and move in characters, and they can still be cute and fun, but I want my stories.
It's like just the right level of fidelity for me because like I like people might be like, why don't you read the manga? And partly it's because I'm a slow reader, and they'll be like, but don't you have to read the subs? And I'll be like, shh, don't worry about that. But like I feel like for me personally, the voice acting still adds a lot to it. And then yeah, it's like you can, on the one hand, and like what we should probably look out for more in the future, well at some point, is there's animes that do crazy things that couldn't be done with live action. Yeah, I guess
live
that's the word
action.
I'm looking for. I was gonna like real life or live action.
Live action.
Both. Although I guess that's getting less and less the case with advances in CGI. Although at that point you're like, it's sort of animation still. But yeah, there's also that element. But yeah, it's like it's just for whatever reason in my brain it was the happy medium, and looks less samey than just like here's people moving around doing stuff, and like you maybe the colors are different depending on how it was shot. And my brain just doesn't really pick up on. That's not true. I do pick up on the cinematography stuff. It's just like it's not as loud, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
The significance of it isn't as loud. Whereas like I'd probably pick up more if there was stuff going on with like the background music or the audio design.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. I was like, I bet you probably appreciate really good sound design, like in a film like was it 1917? Did you see that?
No.
Do you know what movie that is? As I see you
No.
typing and Googling. It's a World War One film that was pretend one shot. It's not actually one shot, but you're just constantly with this guy for 2 hours. And I find that war films in sci-fi, anything that's going to have some booms, tend to have like really good sound design. Actually, you would have probably loved this class, the advanced sound design class. In I didn't take it, but we would see what they would make is they would take a scene from a movie. They'd pick one scene, like Lord of the Rings, like one of the fight scenes, and they would have to recreate the sound design for the scene, like everything.
God. All right, that sounds kind of interesting and or fun if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, so you'd have to do like all the Foley and like go record all your own sound effects. I did do. My God, I had the weirdest fucking projects. I'm really weird. Like looking
Really?
at some of the things I made, I'm so fucking weird.
You don't say.
I know. I made this story, and I'm sure I could find it. So when I did
do you have a shocked face button?
What?
Hit the shocked. I did my shocked face because I just can. But do you have a shocked face button on your VTuber?
Not this one. No, that's on the other thing I was testing
Chucks.
earlier. No, this is the less sophisticated program that I found an anime download for.
Okay.
No, we had to tell a story all through sound was the assignment. That was like the final for the class. We had to record all of the sound effects. And I just told this story about this old lady who actually, I can't even say. I'm not going to say. I can't say because you will relentlessly mock me.
No, come on. You got to do it. Chat wants to know.
But it was fun. I had to record like footsteps and like.
Whoa. What was it? Come on.
Oh my God. I tell you what, I'll see if I can find it, and then we can all listen to it next week, and you guys can all
Can't
judge for
believe you're
yourselves.
gonna do this to our poor listeners. Okay.
Yeah, this avatar is not good. I didn't have a lot of time to test it beforehand. Like, this program is normally better, just as a side note, is usually better with movement and stuff. And so I've been moving my head this whole time, and it's just not tracking. And it has very limited movement, which kind of sucks. So we can finish out on this chick, but
you can't just change who you are like that. That's disturbing.
Okay, well, I can go back.
It's so uncomfortable. Also, like, good thing I didn't also do it, because then I would have been.
This could have been
boy.
you, Paul. This could have been you.
I don't want to be that. I think, kind of.
It also has a cat one. I laughed when I saw that there was cats.
Okay, we should start wrapping it up.
Cat and
Didn't you say
dog.
there was questions, and then chat? Did you have questions for us before we try and pick what we're watching next?
Oh yeah, we gotta pick the next thing.
Yeah, can you stop? You're making people very unhappy.
All right, can I just be this dog the rest of the time?
No, it looks like garbage.
Aw, but he's so cute. And he actually moves a little bit more. Okay, I'll go back to... Who was I again? I think it was this chick.
This is why I
Yeah.
want you to start. Whatever. Whatever. Fine.
All right, I'm back to this girl.
You didn't even have, like, transitions. At least give me a fade to black between switching your character, Meg. It's upsetting to the viewer to do it that way.
Sorry. Hopefully soon my avatar's done and then Girl Hack will just be here and it will be great.
Also, Gar, yes, I did call the dog garbage because it would be a garbage VTuber persona. It's a cute dog, not a good persona of just like a drugged out dog in a bowl, chilling.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I caused chat so much harm.
Yeah. Okay, so now that we're back to some semblance of sanity, I know, Meg, you said you had a question that you wanted to ask. Oh, wait, we didn't talk about the recap bit that I wanted to quickly talk about.
I just
don't want to
ended
talk
up,
about it a lot.
I was like, this is so soap opera like, and I just fast forwarded it and I was like, do they all do this?
They don't all do this.
That was
it's
my hot
something where
take.
if you're watching week to week, it is super helpful, and if you're binging it, it's maybe a little annoying. I think this one's not too bad because the episodes aren't that padded out. It was worse if you ever watched Dragon Ball Z because they severely pad the episodes, and it'd be like last time on Dragon Ball Z, and it's just like Goku charging up the whole time, and then the whole episode is that still somehow, and then it ends on that, and it's like, ugh.
It's not the worst. Don't get me wrong. It's not the worst, but I just skipped it.
Yeah. It's, on the one hand, you can skip it, although like sometimes they phrase things differently or say things differently.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that,
then,
but I was like, yeah.
Yeah, but you're mostly safe to skip it, although like always check after the end credits because sometimes they put stuff there. And if there's no comments to read, you might not notice it.
Yeah, I definitely
just,
been
like, do it out
skipping
of
that.
habit. Yeah, I just wanted to mention. I think it's super useful watching week to week because sometimes you're like, "What happened again?" Huh? And it gives you a good primer. Also, like, I think because they do it with flashbacks a lot too. Not that other media don't do flashbacks. I think anime just does a lot more flashbacks of like emotionally priming you for stuff and being like, "Remember this happened." And then feel devastated and or feel like excited and or feel like whatever because it gives you the context.
So I'm also just like casually trying to browse and see if I can find my student project. All right, what questions does chat have?
It bugs me that they put important stuff out of the credits. Yeah, I mean, kind of it's annoying, but also it gives a nice break for your brain to be like, huh, let me think about this. Let me read comments, and then you scroll back up and like shit happens. You're like, oh my god. Chat hasn't had any good questions. What was your question? Was it gonna be what quirk would you have?
Oh yeah, what
and
quirk
why?
would you have? What do you think actually not? What do you
No
want?
idea.
What do you think it would be?
If I had a quirk, it would be one of the useless quirks, right?
Yeah, I feel the same.
Hope, like somewhere between like being able to pour a glass of water and or like move small objects.
I feel like mine would just be like I could finish spreadsheets really quickly or something dumb.
That's not too interesting, but okay.
Well,
know
what?
if that
Yours
quirk.
is?
Like being able to finish spreadsheets, like there's nothing superhuman about that. That's just like a thing that you can do. Yeah, we didn't discuss Zero G Girl. That's a good one. Maybe I would have pseudo Mentat like abilities, kind of. But I mean, I guess that's sort of already quirkish and exists. Who's your favorite frog hero? Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. I've always had trouble with that. Like, if you were to be like, what element are you in Avatar? I wouldn't have a good answer for you either. This is also why Meg is going to have a VTuber persona and I'm not. Because Meg's like, I know exactly what I want. Literally in like an hour of thinking about it or less.
Yeah. But again, I was trying to make the point that like I thought about like if I had an alt ego, what it would be. And also it's just kind of like what I shot over to the person is stuff I'm into right now, so
yeah. Yeah, but I guess my point is like you even have feelings that way. I always
Oh,
struggle
sure.
with it. I'm probably Fire Nation. Maybe I don't know. But like it's sort of the same question of like if you got a tattoo, what would you get? And I'd be like, I have such rare feelings of like meaning, self, identity, iconography that like that's such an impossible question for me to answer. It's not even like a I would never get a tattoo type thing. It's like picking something to associate with myself in that way is just very difficult for me. Would you know? Do you have a tattoo?
No.
Okay.
You don't either, right?
God, no, I just said that I wouldn't be able to. No, I have no tattoos.
I experienced some paralysis when I decided I wanted to get a neon sign for my old place, and now I still want to get the neon sign. And once I landed on it, I was like, this would be the closest thing to me getting a tattoo, but I don't want a tattoo. I'm actually given my body reacting to stuff, and I've also heard how like when it fades, the dye actually goes into your lymph nodes. I'm like, I'm just gonna pass. But I felt like choosing a neon sign was as close as I'll get to getting a tattoo.
Yeah. Okay. So questions from chat. I want to come back to discussing Zero G Uraraka girl, but would you want to live in My Hero Academia world? Because I feel like this is sort of easy to answer.
If I had a cool quirk and I was in 1A.
That's the problem. On the one hand, it's like they don't really discuss death statistics or like what the quality of life of living in a world like this is. But it seems kind of shitty if you don't have a good quirk. Like in the
Although
first
the
episode,
mom
there's
is
like
like
the
a
guy who's
fucking
like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm gonna be late for work because the train's literally being like hijacked or whatever." I don't know. Like even having a mediocre quirk would be cool. It's just that like the fact that there'd be rampant crime and villains would kind of suck.
All right, I can't find this thing, but it's terrifying that I have every paper I ever wrote in college still saved.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, they start out saying the government pays you well if you're like a good hero. I don't know. I think it'd be cool to live there if like you had a cool quirk, but that's also I feel like me being like I would like to live in Star Wars world if I was a Jedi.
What?
Like you want to
You
like
wouldn't want to live in Star Wars if you weren't a Jedi?
if I was.
Well, I mean, everyone would want to live in Star Wars if they were a Jedi. The question is, would you want to live in Star Wars if you weren't a Jedi?
So we're Deku in this situation if we live in My Hero Academia world. Pre-quirk.
Yeah.
In that sense, then no. It's like the Avengers. Cities just get fucking ripped up. That poor guy in the opening episode like had to call work and was like, I'm late because some villain's on the freaking loose. And then they make the whole thing about like there's more villain accidents on the inside. So what is it like every time you go shopping? It's like, and then in real talk, is it like, you know, super violent and just fearful? Like people seem chill about it, but it seems like a giant inconvenience. So unless I'm there with a cool quirk, no.
Yeah. Yeah. If there was no crime, yeah, I'd want to live in a world with quirks. Even if I didn't have one, that would probably still be pretty cool. But like, I don't know. All right, so are we discussing the zero gravity pink hair girl? Trevor, did you have a specific thing related to her that you wanted us to discuss, or just her in general? I feel like I have an idea of what you want, but I'm having trouble coming up with a leading question for, I'm assuming, Meg. But if I were to make one up while I wait, Meg, how'd you feel about her as a female character and potential love interest, I guess?
Clearly love interest.
Clearly.
She seems sweet. I think I don't feel like she seems cute and sweet enough, right? Like She just wants to help too. I feel like this is what's on par for what is given as women characters like this. I don't know. Like she's good for what the show is.
Yeah. No, I agree with that
Like
assessment.
she actually like, to me, I was like, she seems cute and friendly and sweet. And then Uzaki, did I say it right?
Yeah, Uzaki.
She was just like, you guys are like, she's cute. I'm like, no, she's not.
Oh my god, savage. Uzaki's super cute.
She's cute when she takes care of him and she's wet in the rain, and then I'm like, oh my god, here come the XD face.
You were like, she's wet in the rain, and it showed a shot of her feet, and I hate her. And I'm like, oh god, okay. What? Like, on the one hand, I think she's slightly getting back to Uraraka. Besides just being cute and like making Deku flustered, is they use her to in I guess you could say it's contrived, but like useful plot device elements initially, which is nice. And then also, like, I feel like she has and also will be more of a character than a lot of female characters in other things. Like, she's not the focus. Like, I'm not about to say she's a great female character or anything, but like, yeah, I feel like she's has more to her than like, I am here to just be another signal that the male lead is amazing and I want to bone him.
No, I got that sense too. She seems additive in a positive way.
Yeah.
And she's cute. Like, I also liked her little outfit. I mean, yeah, it's skin tight and whatever, but it also had like Mega Man vibes, especially around the feet until like she had random hoofs on. So I like her.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like now making the Harry Potter comparison. I'm like, yeah, Hermione is probably the stronger character by a margin. But on the flip side, compared to Ginny,
who just marries
Ginny,
Harry,
right? Ginny Weasley, who just like, yeah, is like has a few lines and a few spots, and then the book ends and is like, you're married to Harry now, or like whatever. I'm like, okay,
you're a wizard, Harry. I don't like, I'm familiar enough with Harry Potter to like go to Universal Studios and be like, that's neat, there's that thing, butterbeer or something, woohoo, but I wouldn't be buying a wand.
Okay, fine. So we'll put it in your court compared to Leia.
Wait, what?
If we were gonna pair to Leia,
compare,
and let's do the original three. Uraraka, Zero G, Ochiko.
Wait, you're like Luke, Han, and Leia versus these?
No, I'm just comparing female characters in different medium, essentially. Yeah.
I mean, it's funny. There's a tweet that I had screenshotted that I came across in one of my files that I wanted to retweet on the anniversary of Carrie Fisher's death, where it's like, first time you see Leia with Vader, fucking sasses him. Sees Luke Skywalker too short, sasses him too. Yells at Han. Like, she just was like, get out of my way. Do what we're doing. I'm gonna save our butts. Screw you, Vader. I'm out. And I enjoy that. Is that what you were looking for?
No, but it's a good point. Like, she definitely has more attitude and is opinionated, but then does she have any like character development other than being sad when her planet dies?
In the first movie, no, because it's all about Luke.
Would you say she gets more in the other two movies?
There's no character development
other than like falling in love with Han, kind of.
Yeah, I think she I mean, Star Wars is. There's some characters who get a lot of character development, and Leia did not. The plan was for her in the last movie for it to really be her movie, and then she died, and then they had to rewrite around her death.
Yeah. I mean, it's also very different to compare the most recent three because obviously, like, Rey exists.
But yeah, I mean,
And I'm not
Leia
about to
in
be
A New
like-
Hope is like, I'm a badass. I call the shots. I'm also cute. And then, oh, I'm going to fall in love with this scruffy looking nerf herder. And also kind of, I guess, establish and call some shots. And then she's like still doing that in the third movie. And then you just find out that they're brother and sister and she has some abilities. But like, those 3 movies are there to just, everyone is there to service on like Luke and Vader, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
and
will
guess
critique Star Wars.
That is sort of the amount. What?
I was like, I will critique Star Wars. Like, if you ask me, I'm not shy to critique those films in any way, shape, or form.
Because I know you know Star Wars and everyone knows Star Wars instead of Harry Potter, which you
Gotcha.
don't know as well. That's the only reason. I wasn't trying to dunk on Star Wars. I'm just like, let's just pick another popular medium. I know you know. That's all I was doing.
No, so yeah.
Oh my, would slam Yoda, holy shit.
I don't know if I feel how wait, Nick agrees with that? Nick agrees that All Might would slam Yoda?
The problem air quote with All Might is that like he can send like a giant Detroit smash wind gust from so far away.
He would Detroit smash that green Muppet. I think I'm ready for stream to be over.
Oh my god, okay.
We're calling Yoda green Muppets in chat. Chat is turned.
I think I've successfully indoctrinated most of I mean, they already were weebs, and I like that. Is the Force a quirk? Oh, I'm so proud of you, chat. Well, it's like, I think Jedi could be a lot of quirks, and then there's All Might, and that is a lot harder.
I broke chat.
It's sort of like, could they beat Superman? And like, maybe, it depends on which Superman. The one who can spin the world backwards to reverse time? Probably not.
Wow, apparently we're not amusing. Damn, okay.
Yeah, I know. They're really piling on. So
I would see more like these characters should go up against Marvel heroes or X-Men. I mean, X-Men would be the ideal, but I feel like they're more on the Marvel superhero level versus X-Men. What's that face?
Yeah, a lot of the X-Men are weak as shit by comparison.
Yeah.
Like maybe Phoenix, obviously, for obvious reasons, but then a lot of the other ones are kind of weak as hell next to these quirks.
Yeah, I agree. No, I would say like who more OP, All Might or like Thor.
That one's so weird because Thor's technically a god. And I don't know how they justify his power level.
Who is Great Boy?
You don't worry about Great Boy. We haven't gotten to him yet. So, okay, I think we're roughly at the end. We've fielded all the questions that people wanted to ask. What are we watching next?
I don't know. You're bringing movies down, right?
Yes, I can bring movies down if we're going to do that. Great Boy is the worst. So, okay, fine. I'll explain Great Boy for Meg who doesn't know. There is one of the characters that you've sort of seen. He's the guy with the purple like stuff on his hair.
Yeah, and when he did the side steps, he just like
purple balls.
Had two grape
So he only
piles.
did the side step, and there was one scene of him eyeing up one of the female characters in her outfit, and like his thing is that he likes to ogle women, is like his character trait.
Oh, really?
And besides that, I mean, that and like he's obnoxious.
Okay.
And kind of weak. And like he's a character that exists like in the most like nice way to be like, oh, it's to like he's the fan service character, haha, and then it's like, why is he in there? And it's like, yeah, he's the sexual harassment grape.
That took a second.
But literally,
I was like, what?
yeah, everyone hates Great Boy, but he's in there, and there's some amount of like the author being like, I put him in there because like he's some elements of myself, and like
why would you put that in there?
I'm like, on the one hand, I get it, like being kind of fan servicey and like having the character there for that purpose, but like for all the characters, and maybe this was an intentional choice, for all the characters being interesting and redeemable, Mineta by comparison is a very flat character who kind of just exists to be pervy.
That's unfortunate.
And maybe he was put there to be hated and like good, and then the community can unify their your universal hatred of like that. But he's like a fedora guy, kinda. Not in that he's an actual fedora guy, but like he has that kind of vibe. Maybe he's kind of incel-y. I don't know.
You immediately made me think of someone. Yeah, we'll not go there tonight.
Milady.
He's just a weird dude who was like kind of fanboy for me when I tried to be like girl hack the first time, when my friends had like their famous in those years podcast stuff going on and show, and he's just said a lot of weird shit to me over the years. We'll just leave it at that.
Okay. He's not like cringe bad because he doesn't have to be, like he's not presented with those opportunities. It's more of like, here's an instance of like, we need a character to look at like an attractive character or something, or like, I know a good example. It'll be like this is tropes that we haven't gotten into yet, but it'll be like, it's time for the school festival. What is your class going to do? Because in Japanese school festivals, each class is like, we'll put on a thing, and like it could be like we'll have like a stand where we make tapioca, or it could be like we'll put on a play or whatever, and like the thing is like, oh, let's do a maid cafe, so the female characters have to dress up as maids,
right?
And like you'll be the character to be like, we should do this, right? Like the perv guy. Anyway, so what are we doing next time? So one thing worth discussing is like if we should watch more episodes of My Hero Academia. And as much as I love the show, I don't know if we'll gain anything by watching more episodes. And chat, feel free to refute me. Like I know that previously we talked about watching the sports festival that starts in season 2, and if we should skip ahead to it. And I checked, and it's like 11 episodes, and it's great, but it's 11 episodes.
I don't think, for the purposes of like me experiencing more new stuff, I don't think we'll find anything else. And if there are other tropes to this type of anime, I think we could find other anime. Yeah, I'm really interested in watching. It's Ghost in the Shell, right?
So I have Ghost in the Shell, I have Wolf Children, I have Your Name, all on Blu-ray that we could watch for the next episode.
I've also only seen Ponyo from that director, who I'm blanking on the name of, from Studio Ghibli.
I mean, you said you saw the Firefly one as well.
Yeah, I did.
God, we should... Oh, God, there's so many good movies to... Controversial take, I don't like Studio Ghibli that much. I think it's overrated.
Wait.
Which isn't to say that, like, My Friendly Neighborhood Totoro is a bad movie by any means. It's a good movie. It's just, like, for how much people love that shit, I watch it and I'm like... That's it?
Ponyo was weird, and I like watched the version that was English dub with Tina Fey, and just the delivery of lines and things like that, and I was like, what the fuck am I watching? It looked really nice, but I was also like, what the fuck? And I was like, I would like more Graveyard of the Fireflies, please.
Why did you like Graveyard of the Fireflies?
So I came home on college break, and I think there was a cable channel at the time that was just like, it was the IFC channel, but it was new at the time, and I caught the second half of it, and I think it was just up until that point, I'd only really seen a lot of Disney animation. I'd not seen anything that was presented in such like an adult and deep and drama filled way, like drama and like not oh my god tea, but like dramatic. And I sobbed. I fucking sobbed my eyes out when the little sister dies, and I just felt like it portrayed a really beautiful but sad story and reality of war. I don't know, it just really got to me.
That's fair.
So I think it just also was like the experience of like flipping channels on summer break and coming across it and being like, damn, okay.
Yeah. I mean, like, for its time is probably very, like, yeah. I watched it, and going back to when it actually came out, like, I'm sure it was much more, I don't want to use the word revolutionary. I don't know if it had that much impact, but it was definitely unique for its time in terms of what was available in animation. But, like, me watching it much later, I was like, it's just a sad story about this fucked up kid who, like, was full of himself and then got his sister killed because he's dumb.
Chad is very displeased.
It looks a certain way. What? It sounded good right before bed.
Chad's like,
look, it's an old movie. It's past the statute of limitations.
I also like that before this.
I apologize, but also, like, I just saved you an hour and a half, okay?
No, you should still watch it. It doesn't take anything from finding it out. I pinged Paul before this. I was like,
you'll get to see how he was a dum-dum.
I was like, I don't think that, like, I necessarily will have a ton to talk about tonight. Like, the show's just, like, cute and clever is what I said to Paul. And I think this is our longest show.
I mean, we're coming up on 2 hours. I feel like we've been close to this before.
Yeah.
Okay, so we didn't decide on what we're doing. Should we decide later?
Maybe. Like, I either need to go relieve the leader of waters. Okay.
I mean, I can talk to chat actually while you use the bathroom real quick if you want to do it that way. Poll. You can't do polls on... Wait, Meg, are you still there? Oh, she just pieced. Okay. Hi, chat. How are you guys doing? Yeah, I wish you could poll. Okay. So, yeah. So I mentioned the three. There's Your Name, which is beloved, but, like, I'm kind of meh on, but is worth the watch. There is Ghost in the Shell, which is influential in terms of sci-fi. There is Hi Cat. Hi Chat. There is Wolf Children, and the reason why I own Wolf Children is because the Every Frame a Painting guy like did a mini video on the lateral tracking shot in Wolf Children, so that's why I own that. And then there's Paprika that I feel the need to watch, but I haven't gotten to watch before.
Paprika.
Which is another one that was an Every Frame a Painting one, and apparently has great editing space and time that can only be done in animation, and it's like mind-bending acid trip type stuff. Oh, and then there's Akira, which I've watched and I think is worth watching, but also I don't know. I don't really like Akira.
Gar, who hurt you? Your Name or
I like everything about Your Name except the story. Yeah, no, Gar's entirely right. Everything about Your Name is correct except for the story. Yeah, Your Name or Ghost in the Shell. I really think we should also watch Paprika at some point. It doesn't have to be next week, but it's beautiful.
Or
and the
we
music
could
is
just
so good.
fast forward to Yuri on Ice, or just go down that big giant list of anime types I found, which apparently there's other questionable types besides hentai on there, which I don't even want to ask.
What? I mean, we could do that, but I feel like doing the movie stuff together will be kind of fun.
Yeah, it will be fine. We'll each have an individual couch, the way my couch works.
I'm assuming you know a lot. Sorry. So I was explaining why I have wolf children, and I think I already told you that it's because it was in an Every Frame of Painting video. And the thing he liked about it was a specific lateral tracking shot, which I'm sure you know what it is.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's worth watching Wolf Children just for the lateral tracking shot. Like but like Paprika, I think is something that will do things that can't be done outside of animation as a movie, and that's why I'd be interested in doing that specifically. Your Name was just a very popular movie, and then Ghost in the Shell. I don't know cinematography, anything about it, because I can't detect that when I see it. It was just very definitely influential in like sci-fi history, and then went on to have like multiple anime series.
As soon as you and Sean step in the door, I'm going to hand you a film book and be like,
Why?
I'm just kidding.
Maybe I don't want to know. Ignorance is bliss.
Fair. Yeah, I'm open to like switching to some movies while y'all are here, then we can enjoy them. Why are you mentioning Twitch?
I can't read either.
In chat?
Well, Twitch have to stream the next episode on a different platform. Wait, why? Oh, because of I'm very confused who the joke was happening with the thing. Oh, right, you can watch. Can you do like a group watch thing on Twitch? Oh, forbidden word. Okay, whatever.
I don't know. Yeah, it would be fun to do a group watch. Yeah, I banned him.
That would be fun to do a group watch.
It'd actually be fun to do.
Wait,
that
who
like
got banned?
on I didn't or ban I modded it. Chuckles and Danger.
Yeah. Do you have any Kurosawa lying around?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
But
It's worth asking.
I mean, either it's accessible on a streaming platform, or I know a film professor who lives in Century City, and I'm sure we could do a safe Blu-ray pickup. He literally, I think, owns like something like 2,000 Blu-rays or something insane.
Yeah. That's the problem with anime movies, is that a lot of them aren't available for streaming. Or sorry, I should say a lot of like that type. Like you can get the anime tie-in movies. Like I know I watched the No Game No Life movie, and I also think it's possible that you might. There's some other ones you can get on streaming, but generally if it's like a standalone movie, for whatever reason, companies like, you can't get that streaming anywhere. Maybe. Actually, it says I can see the trailer. Can I rent this? I can buy or rent Paprika. So actually, we could probably do that if we wanted, if we really wanted to. I don't know. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, someone like
if you don't question the flash drive.
Yeah, fun fact is typically most Christmas movies are removed for rental from November to January every year.
That's kind of. What about Die Hard?
I don't know what Fox does with Die Hard. But it's very specific on purpose so that you will pay more money because you have a nostalgia to watch a film, and then you buy it.
Okay.
Someone might also just like have the current exclusive rental rights to Paprika, and it couldn't. Sometimes it's not a competitive streaming service as much as it is like a channel. I remember when I worked at the first streaming place that it'd be like Lifetime bought all rights to this movie for a month and they're gonna loop it on fucking repeat for 24/7, and so they won't pull it from shelves, so like digitally it would still be for purchase, but it wasn't for rent.
Okay.
Just FYI, random streaming rights for what it's worth.
Yeah. Actually, I'm curious now. What did that get?
I don't even know what Paprika is. I'm too afraid to play clips on this show after getting copyright strikes. But yeah, I think movie time sounds fine.
Okay, how about we do this? We're gonna do your name, mostly because I have it and it's super popular. I think. Hold on.
Is
let me
this the
double
no
check.
face person?
The what?
No face? Isn't that a thing?
What do you mean no face?
Isn't No Face a character?
Sorry. That is Spirited Away.
Oh, okay.
Are you talking about when Venus dressed up for Halloween that one time?
I've just seen No Face a bunch of times. Like, I know it enough that, like, in a drawing game, I could be like, No Face, I can draw that.
Yeah. Apparently, Koi no Katachi is now above your name. And I kind of want to watch that one at some point. But what does that mean in English?
Koi
no
Scotzi?
Because if I say that, people might not know what it means.
Koi
silent voice.
Scotzi.
I really want to watch
Yeah,
that.
that's
at
a
some
fucking...
point.
What? The way you said something, I thought you were referring to a different film. That is, like, fucking cinematic on, like, crack. It's amazing. And then people steal the music from it all the time.
What were we talking about? I mean, post it in all anime, maybe. So, okay, let's do your name because people like it and they want you to see it. And we'll see. Gar didn't like a silent voice either. Okay, we're going to do your name. Clearly, everyone wants to do your name, and then I'm going to say one other movie. And I'm leaning towards Paprika, so I'll say that for now, but I want to confirm that that is a thing that I think is worth our time. But I feel like that's what we probably want to do.
Also, next Friday is Christmas Day.
Oh, yeah, we also have to pick which day we're doing it. I mean, that's why Gar's so great, because he's not afraid to be opinionated and dislike things.
I hate everything like Paul. Oh, Gar.
Now I want to just do like a fusion dance with Gar. God, wouldn't Pokemon be so much cooler if you could like fuse Pikachu and Charmander together and then get like some super Pokemon?
Honestly, like my first thought loading into watching the show today was like, they're all like Pokemon. They're all different. They all have different things.
I mean, sure, but they can say a whole lot more than like Pika Pika.
Pika
And
Paul.
Charmander.
Ooh,
Char.
Arjun. What up, Arjun? A wild Arjun appearing at the last minute.
Have y'all seen Akira? I know Akira would be another one sort of worth watching.
I really want to watch Akira.
Like, fine. We should do your name and Akira.
Okay.
We'll do your name and Akira, and I'll begrudgingly watch Akira again.
Should we also
and then
not...
maybe also Paprika. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll post it. We'll be sure. We'll be good adults this time and schedule the stream in advance. What day do we want to do it? Saturday maybe instead of Friday, I guess.
Yeah, let's do Saturday.
So
I have many a family that I'll have to...
We'll discuss some movies. What?
I was going to say Christmas Day is not a good day to stream.
I mean, it's debatable. I partly...
Ooh, and there's a Kristen. Wow, all these people showing up.
Oh, well, did we finally get trending somewhere that people are seeing us? Ooh, let's all watch Akira. Oh, God. Okay. Apparently, Akira is a definitely thing. Sorry, I was going to say, like, my heart goes out to people who are, like, bored and alone on Christmas and they have stuff to watch, but I understand doing the not Christmas.
Yeah, no, I was saying I have a lot of family I have to talk to that day, and then once I'm done talking to them, I'll just be like, let's have a nice Christmas dinner.
Okay.
I really hate this avatar. It tracks...
Look, you picked it.
I know, I just didn't know it tracked this horribly.
Oh my God, yeah, okay. It's going to be a Paul stream day. I'll do a marathon on Christmas somehow, even though I won't be at my computer, but we'll find a way through science.
You can't see me. It sucks I've made so many more facial expressions than this thing will show you. If only you guys were cool with me
face, Meg. Jeez.
hot swapping characters. But apparently
No
that
more
was
hot swapping characters.
very disturbing to chat.
It is. Yeah, it does look like she's drunk.
Well, what's funny is it won't register one of my
the
eyes.
trick probably you wanted is to calibrate it so that like eyes wide open was eyelids mostly closed, and then eyelids completely shut is actually blinking. Like over calibrate it maybe.
Oh yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Big brain plays. There's a lot of winking.
Oh no, I just did what you said, and this is how it came out.
Oh my god. You just need an eye patch on the one eye and you'll be fine.
Oh no.
Okay, so definitely doing your name and Akira. Who's more big brain? It depends on what's happening. If it's StarCraft or Melee, it's definitely Gar. Flirtation.
What?
What?
I just heard Melee and Gar. And I was like, when did we switch to Smash Brothers?
Because Incinerator was asking who's more big brain, me or Gar.
Oh.
Did someone say Melee? Quick, end the stream, end the stream. Cut him off.
No. So overall, My Hero Academia, good stuff. Very solid, cute story. I'm rooting
Go
for
to your friends, make them watch it.
I'm rooting for the hero. I like the other characters at this point, even if I think whatever is way too aggro right now. Like, he needs to tone down his aggroness, and they need to ramp off him just being angry boy. But it sounds like that happens.
I mean, now that you've seen how angry he is he more in line with your actual high school rival who you sort of was your friend?
Not at all.
No. Okay.
I mean, by comparison, like, that girl was way more frenemy.
Okay.
I feel like the ranking goes frenemy, rival, enemy?
No.
What do you mean, no?
It's rival, frenemy, at least. Like, frenemy is definitely less friendly, I think, than rival.
No, frenemy, like, you're like half and half, whereas rival is full rival, and then enemy is rank 2 of rival.
No.
Yeah.
No. No. You can have rivals who are your friends. You can have rivals who are your best friends.
That's a frenemy.
That's not a frenemy, because they're not your enemy. They're just your rival.
Oh.
What?
We'll have to revisit our scale later.
The thing is, like, I feel like rival doesn't belong on friend-enemy scale at all. You can have an enemy who's a rival, and you can have a friend who's a rival. Or I guess you could have a frenemy who's a rival.
I guess in my head, someone who's a friend and a rival is a frenemy.
But why?
I don't know. It's just how I think about it.
Okay.
What is happening? Who's Neil Byrne?
Chad is rising against us.
I'm surprised people have stayed this long for this much bullshit.
Yeah. What Sunless said. Rival is chill. Frenemy is an enemy that pretends to be friends with. Yeah. Like a frenemy is like a very tentative friendship where like they could flip and stab you in the back at any drop of a hat.
And a rival wouldn't do that?
No, because a rival is just someone you compete with.
Okay.
Like, I could say Sean and I were rivals. That doesn't mean we're enemies.
Okay.
We're not anymore because we work at different companies. But when we worked at the same company, we were probably rivals. Arguably. I mean, literally going up for, like, promo at the same time. Technically rivals. Like, this is just fact.
No, I see what you guys are saying now. I agree. I'm just also trying to place
like,
people...
in the connotation...
Wait, what?
How many frenemies are allowed? I was just reading chat. I was also going to let you go. Sorry.
Oh, you can't, because this avatar is kind of crappy. You can't see that I'm like trying to think, and like I'm trying to place like situations I've been in with different people and being like, how did I view them? Were they rival? Were they frenemy? Like,
You could have been a real person and you chose to be a half animated anime character.
wait, what?
No,
You were
nothing. You're like,
competing for
you
that
can't see how I'm
position of that
reacting. I'm
white
like,
guy
yeah, I
whose
know that
name
was
I
your
can't-
choice.
God, it's so true.
I was like, look, don't just jump into using VTuber stuff because you want to have something that's like sufficiently emotive. And you're like, Paul, want to be anime characters? And I'm like, do I?
well,
Blindly
so
want to just be a character with mouth tracking and maybe some eye movement?
so I was gonna use that other model, but
I know.
it won't feed into Discord, and I didn't have enough time. I was like, I don't think my computer could sufficiently run the solution that I came up with in my head. And so I was like, oh, they're like, face rig's not that bad. I'll just download this DLC. And then it turns out that the model is bad.
Because it's free.
No, I had to pay
that's
$4
not necessarily
for
the reason.
this.
What?
Face rig is not free.
Oh, how much did you pay for the anime DLC?
Like $3.99.
Okay, I mean that's not too bad, but also like, can you get a refund? Because looking like a smug,
Oh, maybe
angry
I forget you can get
pigtail
refunds
girl.
on stream. Yeah, I probably actually should. Be like, here's a whole video of me trashing this and how bad it was.
Oof. I mean, you sort of did do that.
Yeah, it's not a lie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Ko-Fis went into this. What a waste of Pokemon naming. Well, I mean, the Pokemon naming was worth it though. Anyway, what were we actually talking about? Oh, frenemy rivalry. Okay, did we wrap that up? Are we good? Good.
Yeah, I
did have a rival who was a frenemy. I will say that. Okay, I will say that I had a frenemy who was a rival.
Okay. At school?
At school, we were like sort of friends, but also like they were the weirdly kind of competitive that would like be willing to make fun of you and or sabotage you if it helped advance their like whatevers, which I would not put in friend territory. I'd put in frenemy territory kind of thing. Yeah. And
That's
we were
fair.
rivals because we were competing, and through like we were pushing each other to be better. And that's what really a rival in at least the anime sense comes down to. It's like they're two people who are competing towards a similar goal, and they're knowing each other and being aware of each other makes them both better through that competition.
There's a coworker, I'm still not sure if they're a frenemy or a rival. I'll just leave it at that. I'm really trying to find this picture now of you and Paul that I face swapped with you guys.
Why? End the stream and do it then.
Fair. But because Paul said you guys were competing
Okay.
for that white guy whose name I can't remember. Never end the stream so I don't have to go back to sleep. Arjun, it's not that late. You're on vacation. I know you're on the East Coast, but damn it, you stay up late.
Oh, you're back on the East Coast, Arjun? Okay. Hope you're having a good time over there.
No, Sean said that.
No, Sean said that. Did we get confused again? I'm sorry.
All mixed up with... Wait, what just happened?
The thing that actually happened, it's not that Sean and I were actually rivals, it's that other people made us rivals because they couldn't tell us apart. So basically, we were competing for identity and agency, not by our own choice.
All right. I've been confused for like 30 minutes. It's fine. This is getting out of hand.
The great identity boogaloo.
Ooh,
Okay. Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Are we ending it now?
Make sure that we announce what movies you need to watch at some point ahead of time. The plan right now, though, is that we'll do a stream probably either Saturday or I'll also throw out maybe Sunday. So we're looking at the 26th to the 27th.
Fair enough.
Sound good?
Yeah. Thanks for sticking around, everyone, and for some latecomers. I appreciate it a lot.
Sean is a V2 model. Let me just wear Sean's skin.
Well, I know a fiber artist that could help you with that. depending on how good they make my
thank you.
thing. The Zoidberg dance? Why not
Oh,
Zoidberg?
I was just trying to go to crab dance, but factually true. Yeah.
Okay, am I actually ending it?
I mean, I'm just waiting for you to hit the button.
Okay, this has gone
Thanks for
so off the
watching.
rails for the
Good night.
last hour. All right, good night, everybody.
Bye.
And it's